Thanks for staying with NDTV. This is World 24/7. I'm Arjun Samar Mahindran. And here are your global talking points this Monday morning. A massive magnitude 6.1 quake jolts Turkey. At least one killed, dozens missing amid building collapse. Israeli PM Netanyahu defense plan Gaza City military offensive, claims plan fastest way to end war with Hamas. Trump and Netanyahu set to speak on the 15th of August in Alaska as Israel faces backlash over Gaza plan. Europe pushes for Ukraine role in Trump-Putin talks. And Tesla zooms into national capital New Delhi's second showroom in India to open this afternoon. A top focus this Monday morning on World 24/7 viewers. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said his plan to take over Gaza City is the fastest way to end the war. Now, speaking to reporters, Netanyahu accused Hamas of refusing to lay down arms and insisted, in fact, that Israel must, quote-unquote, finish the job. Now, he says Israeli forces now control about 70 to 75% of Gaza, with two remaining Hamas strongholds in Gaza City and the central camps. Netanyahu defended the plan despite international criticism, promising safe zones for civilians with food, water, and medical care. He stressed Israel has allowed nearly 2 million tons of aid into Gaza, denying any policy of starvation whatsoever. Meanwhile, at the UN Security Council, the US defended Israel's right to security and rejected genocide claims. Other members, meanwhile, voiced concerns over the worsening humanitarian crisis, with UN officials warning Gaza is facing starvation and catastrophic conditions. This report brings you more, but first, let's listen in to the latest from the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Last Thursday, Israel's Security Cabinet, instructed the IDF to dismantle the two remaining Hamas strongholds in Gaza City and the central camps. Contrary to false claims, this is the best way to end the war and the best way to end it speedily. Our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. The war can end tomorrow if Gaza, or rather if Hamas, lays down its arms and releases all the remaining hostages.
Tens of thousands have flooded the streets across Israel, outraged by the government's latest push to expand its military campaign in Gaza. The unrest comes just after Israel's Security Cabinet greenlit a full-scale ground offensive aimed at retaking Gaza City, once the heart of the enclave, now reduced to ruins after nearly 2 years of war. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing mounting pressure both at home and on the global stage. But despite the fierce backlash, he's standing firm, insisting the operation is vital to rescuing the 50 Israeli hostages still held in Gaza. But in a painful twist of irony, families of those very hostages are now among the loudest voices of dissent. They fear the offensive could doom their loved ones instead of saving them.
Now the government has decided to expand the war and push deeper into Gaza. But my husband is still there. Every invasion, every bullet, every airstrike could cost him his life. This isn't just a military decision. It could be a death sentence for the people we love most. I'm terrified. I'm angry. I won't stay silent.
The outrage has gone global. In London, Istanbul, and even Santiago, massive crowds have rallied against Israel's military campaign. A joint statement from 9 countries, including France, Germany, and the UK, strongly condemned Israel's decision, warning it could worsen an already catastrophic humanitarian crisis, endanger hostages, and trigger further displacement. Meanwhile, over 20 nations, including key ceasefire mediators like Egypt and Qatar, call the planned offensive a dangerous and unacceptable escalation. As pressure mounts on Netanyahu, the stakes could not be higher. For the hostages, for Gaza's civilians, and for an entire region already on the edge of deeper conflict. Samia Afsar, NDTV World.
Now, stay with the Middle East, where Al Jazeera has in fact claimed that 4 of its journalists have been killed in an Israeli strike near Gaza's city's Al-Shifa hospital. Now, according to the network, its correspondents Anas al-Sharif and Mohammed Qreiqeh and cameramen Ibrahim Zaher and Mohammed Noufal were in a tent for journalists at the hospital's main gate when it was in fact targeted. Israel's military, on the other hand, claims Al-Shifa had posed, Al-Sharif in fact has posed as a journalist and in fact was with Hamas, which Al-Sharif had in fact denied in the past as well. Over in Turkey, a powerful 6.1 magnitude earthquake has rocked the country's northwestern Balikesir province, killing at least 1 person and injuring at least 29. This is what we know after getting in the prelim reports. Now, the quake struck near the town of Sindirgi, toppling 16 buildings and also damaging 2 mosque minarets. Rescue teams, meanwhile, rushed to the scene, pulling several people out of the rubble. Sadly, an elderly woman who was rescued alive later died from her injuries in the hospital. Meanwhile, tremors were felt as far as Istanbul, which happens to be nearly 200 kilometers away. Officials are urging residents to avoid damaged structures as strong aftershocks continue to shake the region. Meanwhile, President Erdogan has sent condolences, calling for national unity and prayers. Over in the Far East, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has welcomed a statement from European allies that insists the path to peace in Ukraine cannot be decided without Ukraine before a planned summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin on the 15th of August. Now, in a joint statement, leaders from the UK, France, Italy, Germany and Poland and even Finland, along with the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, stressed Kiev must be included in any peace talks with Russia whatsoever. The US and Russian presidents are preparing to meet in Alaska on Friday. A White House official was in fact quoted saying that Trump was open to the inclusion of Zelensky in the talks, but added that for now, the summit remains bilateral. And to shed more light on this, international affairs expert and director of analysis for geopolitical futures, Alison Federica, joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for making the time out for us, Alison. First of all, I'd like to ask you, how likely is that Ukraine would be included in these talks? And what impact might Trump's territory swap claim have on Ukraine, but also on Europe?
So it's very unlikely that on these talks that take place on Friday the 15th are going to include Ukraine. Any settlement at this point in time that's going to be reached is going to be between the US and Russia, and then Ukraine will be brought in after some of the basic ideas have been agreed upon. Ukraine is not in a position right now where it can call the shots. As for territory, that is a problem for Ukraine because they have said repeatedly that they are not willing to give up any of the territory that Russia has gained occupation of during this conflict. And Russia has said clearly that it plans on keeping as much of that territory as possible. So with Ukraine and Russia, you clearly have a stalemate. Having the U.S. intercede and step into this role is one way that maybe Russia and the U.S. can kind of work around that. with, unfortunately, the phrase beggars can't be choosers applying to Ukraine in terms of can they continue this conflict without U.S. support or strong European support? And the answer is they can't do that indefinitely.
Well, Ukraine's stuck between a rock and a hard place there. Thank you for your perspective on the evolving situation there, Federica. Now, we stay with the story, but where India has also, in fact, welcomed the proposed peace summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Now, while backing efforts to end the war in Ukraine, New Delhi has, in fact, firmly defended its strategic autonomy, continuing oil imports from Russia while keeping diplomatic lines also open with Washington on the other hand. And amid the US claim that India's oil purchases were fueling resources for Russia's war against Ukraine, India has constantly and consistently, in fact, maintained its position that has been aimed at energy security and global stability. Land has pointed out lack of reason in the argument that India was fueling Russia's war machine. In fact, India's ambassador to the United States, Vinay Mohan Kwatra, said he had shared the Indian perspective with Senator Lindsey Graham, who had urged PM Modi to emphasize on President Putin to end the war in Ukraine. And the meeting is important. Why? As it could be a step towards a possible thaw in Indo-US ties, especially with trade ties which have been hit by tariffs after Donald Trump's criticism over India buying Russian oil. And the tug-of-war with Trump over US tariffs on Indian exports continues. And New Delhi has been firm in its message that it will not be bullied. In fact, PM Modi and Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, in their veiled messages, have reiterated that India cannot and will not be stopped. PM Modi, while speaking in Bengaluru, brushed off jibes by the opposition and even Donald Trump over the Indian economy and said that New Delhi is on the path to becoming the third largest global economy. And he also added that despite external pressure, India would not slow down. Rajnath Singh, on the other hand, countered Trump, saying India has emerged as a leading manufacturer in electronics and also the defense sector as well. He said efforts are also underway to ensure Indian products are too expensive to buy. He also said India cannot be stopped from becoming a global superpower. Listen into what both leaders had to say.
साथियों, आज भारत दुनिया की फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग मेजर इकोनॉमी है। पिछले 11 इयर्स में हमारी इकोनॉमी 10वें नंबर से टॉप 5 में पहुंच गई। हम बहुत तेजी से टॉप 3 इकोनॉमी बनने की ओर आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। ये स्पीड हमें कैसे मिली है? ये स्पीड हमें रिफॉर्म, परफॉर्म, ट्रांसफॉर्म की स्पिरिट से मिली है। ये स्पीड हमें साफ नीयत और ईमानदार प्रयासों से मिली है।
Now, even as Operation Sindoor continues, the navies of India and Pakistan are set to conduct separate naval drills in the Arabian Sea on the 11th and 12th of August. Now, these overlapping schedules points to heightened military activity in the strategically significant Arabian Sea, a key route for maritime trade and crucial also to regional security. Now, this development comes just months after a tense military standoff in May after the deadly terror attack in Pahalgam, which killed 26 innocent civilians. My colleague Shiv Arur joins us for the latest on this. Shiv, what's the latest you're picking up? And if you give our viewers a perspective on the size of the Indian Army compared to the Indian Navy compared to the Pakistani Navy here.
Osama, this is a naval drill. These are firing drills that are being conducted in the Arabian Sea. And the interesting aspect of it, like you rightly said, is that India and Pakistan are holding these drills not very far from each other, just about 60 nautical miles from each other, which is very close by naval standards, because in firing drills, missiles and guns are fired at ranges either close to that or even more than that sometimes. Now, of course, the firing areas and the ranges where this firing takes place are clearly demarcated. In fact, it may be difficult to believe that even in such circumstances, there is a sharing of information at a military level. But we must understand that Operation Sindoor is only under pause. It's still very much on, and therefore any small miscalculations or misunderstandings can lead to an escalation. But the Indian Navy, is well aware of what Pakistan's Navy is capable of and what these exercises really mean. So it is unlikely that anything will actually happen. But it is interesting to see that it is a sort of mutual muscle flex that is taking place in the Arabian Sea. Remember that the Indian Navy's role in Operation Sindoor was curtailed by the fact that a ceasefire finally happened. If that were not the case, then Karachi harbour would have been in complete debris right now. And the Pakistan Navy and the Pakistan military establishment obviously knows that. The Pakistan Navy is much smaller than the Indian Navy. This is not to say that it is not a professional military force. It very much is, but it is much, much smaller. During Operation Sindoor, in fact, the Indian Navy managed to completely cage in the Pakistan Navy to harbour, to port. They were not able to do very much. They were not able to fly their aircraft over the ocean as well. So it is in that context that these operational drills very close to each other should be seen. It's muscle flexing, it's power projection, and that is the context.
As my colleague Shivaru rightly underlined there, muscle flexing and power projection in the Arabian Sea between the 11th and the 12th of August. Thank you so much for your inputs there, Shiv. And with that, it's time we step into a short break. News continues on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching World 24/7. And news from the national capital, where Elon Musk's Tesla is all set to open its second showroom in New Delhi. Now, this follows the inaugural showroom of the brand in India that opened in Mumbai's Balikesir on the 15th of July. The latest dealership of the brand will be located at Worldmark in AeroCity. It's close to the New Delhi International Airport. Now, once it begins operations, the car maker will be able to serve consumers in Delhi and the national capital region as well. The EV giant has officially entered the world's third largest automobile market for perspective with the launch of its electric mid-size SUV, the Tesla Model Y, priced from nearly rupees 60 lakhs. Hi, After making a humble beginning in the Indian space program with a tiny rocket supplied by the United States, ISRO would launch a massive 6,500 kilogram communication satellite built by the US in the next couple of months, the chairman of the space agency, V. Narayanan, said on Sunday. Now, following the historic launch of the NASA-ISRO synthetic aperture radar of the Nisar mission on board a GSLV F-16 rocket on July the 30th, ISRO would be launching another satellite for the United States. South Korea's military has shrunk by 20% in the past 6 years alone, largely due to a sharp decrease in the population of men and an enlistment age for mandatory service in the country, with the world's lowest birth rate. Now, this is according to a new report which has just come in. The sharp decline in the pool of men available for military service is also causing a shortfall in the number of officers and could also perhaps result in operational difficulties. India's Asiatic lion population rose from 674 in 2020 to 891 in 25. It's a jump of 32.2% according to the 16th lion population estimation report released on Sunday. The number of adult females has increased from 260 to 330. It's up by nearly 27%, boosting the species' ability to reproduce. Now, the 2025 count also includes new satellite populations in Gujarat's Barda Wildlife Sanctuary, Jetpur, Babra Jasdan, and nearby areas. In total, there are now 497 lions in satellite populations spread across 9 locations. And for the first time, mind you, 22 lions have also been recorded in corridor areas. It's time we slip into a short break. News continues here on NDTV on the other side. Don't you go anywhere.